So I'm logged in from my phone. So it's a terrible angle of me. Can you guys see or hear me? Those of you joining LinkedIn, let me know. It says live on YouTube. Let's see if this is live on LinkedIn. Sorry about the really bad angle. I tried to install a new antivirus software and somehow it's decided that my computer can't access my speakers or my microphone or my camera. So obviously I will be trying to fix that. So for now, I'm just shouting into my phone. Can you guys hear me? Can somebody comment in the LinkedIn room and let me know if you can hear me? And I'll log into YouTube also. This is Office Hours Ask Me Anything. Once I get it started, I am happy to take all of your questions. I am looking at my computer at the chat rooms. So if you guys have any questions at all about the world of CX and UX and careers and jobs, I'm happy to take those questions. Can anybody hear me? Okay, thumbs up. All right. Sorry again about this arrangement. I'm having some technical problems, which means I'm shouting at you from my phone instead of being able to log in through my computer. But I am logging into LinkedIn on my computer, which is working. It just can't access my camera or headset for no good reason. I'm assuming it's the new antivirus I installed today. So I'll have to check tech support on that. Good thing I'm finding this out today. So does anybody have any questions about anything from the world in UX and CX? This is your time. I'm happy to answer any questions that come up. Just type them in the LinkedIn chat or the YouTube chat, and I will get right on that. And meanwhile, I'm going to be Googling for tech support for this antivirus. So any questions at all? Again, this is your time to ask questions, and I'm happy to answer any questions you guys might have. Just ask them in LinkedIn or YouTube, and I'll be watching for questions. I just hang out for a little bit here and see if anybody has questions. That's all this is. And if nobody has questions, I will go away and keep troubleshooting my camera and stuff. Any questions? Questions today? Office hours. Ask me anything. Any questions you guys have? I'm just trying to troubleshoot my camera and speakers not working, but I'm here. Ask any questions that you might have, and I am happy to help. Questions? Anybody? This is Office Hours Ask Me Anything. I'm taking questions. I know I don't look like it. I am trying to figure out why my computer camera and headphone and speakers aren't working, which is why I'm shouting into my phone today, and you're getting a wacky angle of me. But I am here. If anybody has any questions, I'm checking on YouTube. Here's Marisol. How do you deal with graphic designers that just want to make things cool and you try to explain it's not about that? Always great questions from Marisol. Good to see you today. I am not sure I have a great answer for that, because what I think you're really saying is, how do you tell someone else they're bad at their job? How do you tell a graphic designer that good usability is important, accessibility is important? You would hope that they would already know that. I sometimes think that this is a case for a manager to get involved in, because it's really hard for you as the coworker to go to another person and be like, hey, you're kind of bad at your job. You're trying to make things cool, but that doesn't mean they're easy to use, or it's interfering in what I'm doing. I would probably be going to my manager and saying, hey, one or more artists or graphic designers, visual designers, UI people on the team are working against what we are trying to do here, because they just want to make things pretty or cool, but this means that they end up poor usability, poor accessibility, whatever it is. I don't know the specifics of it, but I think that ultimately you have to get a manager involved in that. I think it's a little bit too tough to try to go to that person directly and be like, hey, you need to learn some things. Those are people, in general, I feel like people who are that bad at their job probably need to change jobs or get a lot more education going. But I think it really needs to come from someone else's manager, that visual design is not about making things cool. It's really about these other things, and we need to refocus. So I'm sorry I don't have a great answer for you there, but I think this needs managerial intervention. Julio says hello. Hello to Julio. Maria Elena says, how can we convince our colleagues that our opinion about CX is more valid than them because we have more sales experience than them? I'm the youngest in my department. You can imagine the difficulties. And your title on LinkedIn says Junior Digital Marketing Specialist. Yeah, that is hard. There may be a lot of reasons why they don't necessarily believe your opinion. It could be a gender thing. It could be an age thing. It could be, we've been successful this long doing it the way that we're doing it. There are a few things in my book that I always hope will help people in that situation. But again, like the question before, you're really asking, how do I convince people at my job to respect me and take me seriously? And if you're at a workplace where you're not respected and taken seriously, it's often hard for you to change, because how does someone who isn't getting as much respect convince people to respect them more? They already don't totally respect you. At least that's my impression when I see that people aren't being listened to, or their advice isn't being taken. Or it could also be, sometimes if they're not taking your advice, it's because they don't see you as a consultant. They see you as a pair of hands. Oh, you're a pair of hands. You're just the person who sets up an ad campaign. You're just the person who sketches a screen. And so if they don't really understand your job, it's easy for them to be disrespectful and assume that you don't really have any good advice. Sometimes you just have to keep showing up and having great data and metrics that prove that something you predicted was right, or something you did worked out, or something like that. But again, like the last question, I think this is an area where we're going to need managerial help. There's going to have to be a manager probably who's going to have to talk to some other people and tell them, hey, wait a minute, it sounds like, okay, thanks, Marisol. It sounds like a manager probably needs to go to other people and be like, hey, just want to check in with you and make sure you understand what our digital marketing team is up to. We've got Maria Elena, and we've got all these other people, and here's what they're working on, and here's what their backgrounds are, and they come from really interesting backgrounds and educations, and we've hired really a great team, and they're not just order takers, and they're not just a pair of hands, and they're not just grunt workers. Here's some really interesting things that they do that require creativity, problem solving. So you have to kind of find this kind of funky roundabout way to explain to people that your job isn't someone who's filling in boxes and checking things off, and that it's really much more deep and creative and quality based then, oh yeah, Marilena, she sketches a couple of things and they're pretty and we run with them. I think it probably takes a manager to take those people aside and say, I realize that, we may not have really introduced that whole team really well to you and we want to tell you what we do. Now, some people say, ooh, okay, let's do evangelism. Let's tell them how important we are. And those of you who've listened to me speak or read my book know that I'm against, in many ways, evangelism, because again, it tells some people who don't respect us like, oh my God, you need to respect us. And it just sounds kind of whiny. But I think if we can find another way to put it, we can kind of circumvent that and end up getting a little bit more love. And usually that just has to do with showing the benefits of what you do with hard numbers. Nobody cares about feelings. Nobody cares how you feel. Nobody cares where you've been. Nobody cares if there's empathy. Take those people and show them, thanks to this marketing department or this marketing person or this team or this initiative, we were able to save this money, make this money, increase this efficiency, increase this awareness. We had these goals, we achieved them. The marketing department are knowledgeable, creative people who are, and you should know that they're really here to solve your problems and the company's problems. And so basically someone in a more managerial level who will be taken seriously has to present this as, look, we can look at these hard numbers and we can see based on goals we had and how it came out, this team or this person is effective. And when this person has an idea or a problem solution or an initiative they want to try, this is someone we listen to because this person gets it done. And here we have the numbers to show that they get it done. So, so I don't go for the usual evangelism, which is usually rah, 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 we're important. And really like, hey, you know what? Look at these numbers. People are swayed more by numbers sometimes than, hey, you should care about Maria Elena. She's great at what she does. She's a nice person. Blah, blah, blah. Emotions, boo. People hate them. Just get somebody above you, 1 or 2 levels, to try to call a meeting and explain you and maybe your coworkers, but not in a condescending way and not in an evangelistic way. So Maria Elena, I hope that helps you out. Let's check the YouTube channel to see. We've got 2 people today. One might be Marisol. And we've got 6 people live on LinkedIn. I'm sorry I'm shouting into my phone today, but I tried a new antivirus on my computer today, and it appears to be blocking my camera and my microphone and my speakers. I guess that protects me from what? The fake Chinese spam emails that say they've been recording me touching myself. Like, that wasn't a thing. So what can I say? I'm going to have to do some troubleshooting with this new antivirus program and make sure that they're not protecting me from myself. But this is office hours. Ask me anything. I am shouting into my phone or my phone headset. Hopefully everybody can hear me okay. Sorry again about the strange angle of me. It's better than some angles, worse than some other angles. I'm not too sure what else I can do. Angles. It's my box of important papers, like everyone has. Put a box on the floor, put important papers in them. I do have a light bulb hanging from a wall. I don't even have a light bulb receptacle like this. Now you're getting the behind the scenes today of what my home office really looks like and why I have this big thing behind me to make it look a little bit better. So this is, today you get the inside look at the home office. This is office hours, ask me anything. So if you guys have any questions, just know that we're about 60 seconds delayed between when I talk and when you hear it. So if you have a question, it may take a little bit of time for me to see it. But in addition to trying to troubleshoot my antivirus, I am checking the LinkedIn chat and the YouTube chat for questions. So please do post your questions as I struggle with my antivirus. Oh, antivirus. I am here for your questions. I am just trying to troubleshoot my antivirus. I tell you, some days I think we should all just end early and go home. Well, I am home. That didn't help. All right. So I'm also trying this office hours at some new times. I'd love to hear your feedback. Good to see Udit, friend of the show. What do you guys think of this time of day? I moved it a little bit later than it used to be to see if more people in North America, Central America, South America would line up better with this time. I used to do it about 2 hours ago, and people were like, it's too early, I can't do it. But I don't want to move it too late because we get lots of people from India joining from time to time, and I don't want it to be super late for them. I think it's coming up on 11 p.m. or so for them. So what do you guys think of this time? Is there a better time for you? I know some people in North America, Central America may have asked for like, oh, I wish this happened after work hours. Okay, but I'm sleeping. So I can't make every time available. It has to be when I'm awake. That's my only request. Can we do this when I'm awake? So let me know in the chat rooms what times of day would be great for our weekly office hours Ask Me Anything, so I can keep trying to adjust them and see what might work best for people. Lunchtime in Central America. Okay, very good. Anybody else want to write into the LinkedIn chat and say if this is a good time for them or not, or what would be better, just so I can take that into consideration as I play with different times. I'm trying to accommodate as much of the world as possible, but that is hard thanks to time zones. So, and hello from my phone, which also means that in the future we can do these from anywhere, like airports. Any questions? Today it is office hours, Ask Me Anything. And again, I'm sorry I look a little dark and mysterious in this lighting and wearing the usual collection of hoodies. You're getting weird angles of me today. I think you're getting left ear mostly. I apologize. But at least we got this working, and I will troubleshoot the rest of it later. Hello to our 3 YouTube viewers and 6 LinkedIn viewers. I've also been asking how the time zone is working for people for me to do this starting around 15 or 30 minutes ago. So please write in and let me know how you feel about the time zones or what time could be better for you. And this angle kind of makes me feel like, here's how I'm doing with my weight loss progress. Not at goal weight yet. I'll get there eventually. We could take bets. When will I get there? This is Office Hours Ask Me Anything. I do these every Tuesday, mostly around this time, though I've been playing with different times. So let me know what times would work better for you. Because if you're not here and not participating, then it's office hours hasn't really gone, served its purpose. This is your time. This is not one of my podcasts. This is your time. Quick programming note. We had to move tomorrow's podcast a little bit later into mid-February, so I'm very excited about it, and I'm sorry we had to delay it, but the podcast with the hiring managers talking about the resumes and portfolios they see from boot camp people, that had to be moved. But we still have the Thursday podcast with Lee from Akatame to talk about storytelling. So that is still happening this week. And next week we have William and Tin talking about presenting to stakeholders and how to deal with pushback. So that'll be some great stuff this week and next week. Larry Marine joining us from YouTube. Time zone is difficult. I'm in the middle of work. I know, Larry, but the problem is if I wait for you to be done with work, I am sleeping. Because I am 8 hours ahead of you, Larry. You're in Colorado. So if I wait for you to get out of work and I wait for you to drive home and it's 6 at night, 6 in the evening for you, plus 8, that's 2 in the morning for me. So no, I'm not going to do office hours at 2 in the morning. Many of you have discovered I am a morning person and an early bird. So unfortunately, these are going to have to be scheduled a little bit strangely when I'm in America. If I am traveling in America, I will try to shift them so that some of them are after the workday for America. But while I'm over here in Europe, I have to do it during your workday. So I dig it. Yeah, I did ask. Marisol says, any recommendations for managing a UX team? Oh, Marisol, that's like its own podcast. I don't even know where to start. You said courses and books, but do you mean like Larry's question is good. I'll take a look at that in a moment. Marisol, do you mean courses or books that you should take or read as a manager, or that you should recommend to the people you're managing? Can you clear up that question a little bit? Larry is asking, care to expound a little more about the issue of incestuous instruction in the boot camp schools? Now, Larry, incestuous is a bit of a tough word. I assume you don't mean that people teaching in boot camps are having sexual relations with other people in boot camps. Can you tell me, Larry, what you mean specifically? Do you mean that the instructors are often of low quality? Do you mean that the school hires recent graduates to instruct, even though they have no experience? If you can tell me what you mean, I will be happy to expand on it. I've also noticed that YouTube is a little bit faster than LinkedIn. So people on LinkedIn, I will get to you. I'm getting questions a little bit faster in YouTube today. Maria Elena says, thank you for your answer. Really inspirational as regards to the new favorite word in digital marketing, segmentation. How can you design the perfect landing page for a campaign? The A/B testing seems to be the practice when you are not sure for one or two things, but how can anyone be sure or optimize it? So Maria Elena, one thing is, are you partnering with people in UX? I believe that marketing can get a lot further with a lot of their goals and initiatives if they partner with UX. I have been making landing pages for 25 years. Now, not everybody at your company has been doing that, but even if you have great UX workers who are really good at understanding the customers and laying out pages for them. I used to work at a digital marketing agency, and literally some projects were just asking me to take some of the content they imagined and make some different layouts they could then test. The benefit to that, among other things, is that your B variant has had additional expertise. So not just your ideas and expertise, but my ideas and expertise, which often come from a different angle and may be different or fresh, or maybe similar to what you thought. So one thing I recommend for marketing workers and teams and UX people, UX and marketing have to partner more. Sometimes we are enemies, but I think we don't have to be. And I know when I'm working at agencies, I love partnering with the marketing people and helping improve their landing pages, because if we're not designing these with customers' needs and realistic habits in mind, you can A/B test it forever, but you might be testing poop against poop. So get UX involved, and that way you're not just testing one, so whatever we have now versus this other thing I thought of. UX people can give it a fresh angle and even do some of their own testing before you A/B test to try to improve upon it before it even goes to the B variant. Let's see if we got our questions cleared up in YouTube. Larry says students becoming instructors, and Marisol says, I'm the main UX designer in my team. The rest of my team has no experience in UX, so the content they create is not matching users' needs. What's the best way to give feedback? Yeah, I mean, Marisol, your question is really like, how do I take people who are bad at UX and try to make them good at UX in a short time? And that is the magic sauce that all the boot camps are trying to promise. And I don't think it necessarily exists. You can always try to have people read some of the classics, like The Design of Everyday Things and Don't Make Me Think. But I think it also, what are they exposed to with respect to customer research? Have they seen quotes from interviews? Have they seen videos from observational studies? What have they seen that tells them the customer story? Without insulting them. We don't want to insult them, even though you probably want to punch them. So I think normally, the way that I try to do this when I'm in those situations is I'll say things to people like, well, that's an idea we could look at, but if we put our customer hat on and we take a look at the information we have about our customer, it looks like we should be going in a different direction. Or, and you can always use my 4 horsemen model. I find that one works very well for people who don't totally get UX. Just Google the 4 horsemen of UX, and it's on the Delta CX website. You can go to deltacx.com. I think it's under About Us or something. And basically, the four horsemen are frustration, confusion, disappointment, and distraction. And it's a great model for UX and non-UX people because it gets people thinking about what's not working here, what might not be working here. Hey, you know what? This looks like a cool screen or a cool way to go, but if we really think about a customer using this, we can see where they would be frustrated. This doesn't look like that other thing we built. This might be confusing. And so you can use the four horsemen of bad UX, frustration, confusion, disappointment, and distraction, as a nice layman-y kind of way to start to get people thinking and tell them, put your customer hat on, just remind them, when we are building things for our customers, we can't go by what we like. We just have to go by what customers like and what customers need. And that means we have to go by this other information. So if you have any good research, again, quotes, videos, personas, anything you have is going to help these people, and just keep reminding them to, hey, you know what? It's not so much about what you like. It's not even about what I like. Let's take a look at what this is going to be like for our customer. Here's the four horsemen of whatever. You've put 72 fields on this form. Ooh, four horsemen just arrived. We need to fix that. Try playing with that model and see how that works for you. Let's just check LinkedIn for comments before, nope, no new comments there. So let's go back to Larry's question over in YouTube. So Larry asked if I can talk about boot camp and trade school students becoming instructors. Well, there technically isn't a question there, but if you just want me to speak generally about that, let's just start by telling people what's going on. So for those of you who don't know what's going on, there are lots of trade schools and boot camps out there. And we can name them, we cannot name them, but for example, some of them are schools like General Assembly, Career Foundry, Design Lab, Block. There's an endless bucket of trade schools out there right now. I'm unhappy with pretty much all of them for varying reasons. But one thing you'll see from time to time, and it's not at every school, so some schools are doing this, some aren't, but it is common. And that is that many schools, after someone graduates from their certificate program, they put in their 8 weeks, 12 weeks, 20 weeks, whatever it was. After people graduate, some of them get hired by the school. And very often they're hired in a few different types of possible jobs. They might be hired as a teaching assistant. They might be hired as a teacher or instructor. They might be hired as a tutor. They might be hired as a mentor or someone who reviews work. They might be hired as some sort of school ambassador. So what I have found in my research is that there are many schools that are hiring people after graduation. Now, you would hope that they're hiring amazing people, but that's not always the case. So first of all, this is where we have to think critically. Who do you want teaching you at any school? If you were going to plumbing school, you would want to be taught by a master plumber. You would not expect a painter to teach plumbing school. But if you do some digging when you are researching for these trade schools and boot camps and even university programs, you want to dig deeply and learn about the backgrounds of all of the people you might be interacting with, the instructors, the mentors, the tutors, the teaching assistants. Ask questions. Find them on LinkedIn. This isn't difficult. It won't insult anybody. And when I did my research, the number one thing I heard when I asked people if you could go back in time and tell past you to do a better job researching or learning something about this trade school before you went, what would you do? And everybody was like, many people were like, I didn't do enough research. I should have looked into who the instructors and other people were. Larry said, I've got more to say about this, but Larry also says, do you know if any of the schools connect with senior UXers to come and mentor the students in some ways? Yes, some of them do. Some of them do connect with UX peeps, but let me tell you a little bit more about what I learned about schools hiring students. Many schools put up statistics of what percentage of their graduates get jobs after they graduate. Now, in those, and many of them show high percentages, 92%, 96%. In those percentages, you should know that many schools count people who already had a job and just kept that job, people who were freelancers and kept freelancing, people who got a short contract job or freelance job, but then lost it often a few weeks later, 3-4 weeks later. And they do count the people that they hire. So some of these percentage people who get jobs after graduation are unfortunately manipulated. Do I want to say they're a lie? They may not be a lie, but they're definitely based on criteria that I wouldn't use. So you can't just go by that, because sometimes they're padding those numbers by hiring those people. Now, for example, I did a little research into one of the General Assembly programs. I won't say which city. And I found that their 12-week immersive full-time UX program was being co-taught by 2 teachers and a teaching assistant. The teaching assistant had never worked in UX before and had graduated General Assembly just a few months before. The 2 teachers had extensive visual design resumes, but had never held a UX job. I don't know these people personally. I can't say if they're good or bad at any particular thing, or good or bad teachers or humans. I can only say, if I go to plumbing school, I don't expect to be taught by a painter. If you are going to a UX program, you need to do a lot more research. What I learned in my research is most of you did very little research. And you can't just go by online reviews. I've learned that boot camps and trade schools pay people to leave positive reviews and fight when negative reviews are put up. So the reviews are skewed. So take a look at who's going to be teaching you. Look at their LinkedIn. Don't look at UX, UI jobs. A lot of UX, UI, UI, UX product design jobs are mostly visual design jobs. You are looking for these people to have titles like senior UX designer, senior UX architect, lead UX something. Larry Marine says, how do we change that? Larry, how do we change what? I'm going to need you to be more specific, as there is a time delay here. And again, people, please keep asking your questions. I am catching them as fast as I can. So another thing I want to point out is, let's talk about what senior level UX people get paid. Now, many of you have read that on these bootcamp and trade school websites, they show you, oh my God, you could make $100,000 a year. Glassdoor says you could make $106,000 a year. First of all, that's usually a senior level job. And in UX, a senior usually has, I would say, 6 or more years of experience. So first of all, those salary numbers you're seeing touted around the bootcamp websites and the trade school websites, these are not the salaries you're going to get in your first year. These might be the salaries you could see in your 6th year. But let's take a closer look at those salaries for a moment. Let's say you could make 100,000, 106,000, 120,000 in San Francisco, or even higher, to be a senior UX whatever, or even higher. I've been paid noticeably more than that to be a principal UX whatever, which is a level above senior. Which job would you take if you love doing UX work and you're making 120,000 a year, 130,000 a year, but the trade school pays you 90,000 a year, 100,000 a year, maybe less? Who is that school going to attract as an instructor or something like that? If they are paying less than the market rate to do the job, who would quit their senior principal lead level UX job, UX manager job, being paid who knows what, to say, you know what, I want to take all of my experience and I want to teach at this trade school? How much of a pay cut should those people take? Why aren't those salaries more in line? Larry Marine says, can we put together a group of senior UXers that could offer office hours like yours and offer those to students? Hypothetically, we could, but there's a lot of problems there because very often those types of office hours would mean that someone has to show me something they're doing at a real job. And so I wouldn't really be able to do that over a YouTube live cast. Larry says, by the way, I don't think time and grade is enough to qualify someone as a senior. I would think number of projects or successes might be a better indication. Larry, I would agree with you if anybody were considering the success of UX as important. If I had to be judged by how many times I did something successfully, you would think I am a giant loser because I've ended up working at places that played musical UX designers. I mean, I spent 2 years at Macy's and I have nothing to show in my portfolio because everything was manipulated or demanded by the product team. The product team would say, just make this. And I'd say, well, can I research this? No, we don't have time. Okay, I'm going to guess at it. Can we test it? No, we'll just put it out there. So I think there are lots of ways that we can judge someone who should be at a senior or lead level, or even someone who should be a teacher or instructor. Years of experience is one way, but I've seen people with years of experience who are total imposters. So it's not the only dimension. Good point, loser. Yeah, I'm just a big loser. So I'm bad at this. So I've had a lot of good successes, but mostly they've been at my own agency. But when I've worked regular jobs where I've had regular titles and had to follow somebody else's rules and policies and processes, I often didn't get to do the best work I could. Jay Martin is here. Ciao, Jay Martin. Jay Martin says, truth. I feel the short immersive boot camps flood the junior UX market and make it harder for folks that got a degree in UX. Jay Martin, you're not wrong. What I would add to that is I've seen a lot of portfolios from people who did get a degree in UX, and honestly, in many cases, they're not being taught any better. I've seen a few degrees, few colleges, people have sent me their portfolios. I do review portfolios. Where's my sign? I made signs. Let's see, that's not a sign. Let's see, give me a second. This is a bad day for Deb's technology, but at least I've printed out signs. Okay, I opened up some slots in my calendar next week for, let's see, here we go. I can see myself now. I've opened up some slots in my calendar next week for free portfolio reviews. These are free and private. I record a video and I send it to you later. So if you would like one, sign up. They're free. You get your first one free. If you've had one for me before and you improved your portfolio, I cannot give you another one for free. I do charge $50 for a half hour of my time. But if you want your first free one, you are welcome to get that. The URL is deltacx.as, as in Acuity Scheduling, which is the scheduling system I use, .me, /portfolio-review. I opened up a few slots in my calendar next week for free portfolio reviews. So if you want some really tough love, because I give the tough love, I don't always have a lot of nice things to say, but if you want the tough love from the perspective of someone who's done this for a while, I can give you that. If you want the perspective of someone who looks for pretty pictures and buzzwords, that's not me. Larry, let me talk to you privately at some point about what I'm trying to cook up to disrupt UX education, but that is not for discussion here just yet. We are still cooking this up privately, but you know I will tell you privately. So let's have a talk about that sometime soon. But for now, when people are considering whether it's a boot camp or it's a degree, check into people's work history. So for example, I interviewed some people when I was doing my, are we still live? Is everything still working? Yeah. Looks like LinkedIn froze. I interviewed a whole bunch of people who were unhappy with their boot camp, and I learned a couple of things. Number one, the people who had done a university degree, bachelor's or master's, sometimes told me that their professors had no work experience, that they had been in academia for so long that they were really just used to how research is done in academia, or if they did interaction design, it was within the college or something like that. And that they found their own professors didn't have a lot of real work experience. And so if you want to stay in academia, then that professor could be good for you because they'll help you on that path. But if you are really looking for a path that gets you into the corporate world or startups or any of this other stuff, you would probably want teachers who have been in those trenches. So take a look at even your university professor's experience. Again, I also saw a lot of times where UX boot camps were being taught by artists, being taught by web developers, being taught by visual designers, creative directors, design thinkers, whatever that means this week. So do your homework. Make sure that your instructor impresses you. Wow, this person worked for X years in UX at different jobs. Jumping around different jobs isn't a bad thing. It means they've had a variety of experiences. Staying in a job can be good too. But you are looking for titles to be UX titles, not UX UI, not product design, because that usually, and then check their description. It usually means they did a lot of visual design. Let's see, LinkedIn, nothing new here. Nothing from YouTube. We've got 4 people in YouTube today. We've got 11 in LinkedIn. This is Office Hours, Ask Me Anything. There is a little bit of a time delay, but I am taking questions live on absolutely anything you guys want to talk about. I had some technical problems with my computer today because I installed a new antivirus who decided they need to save me from myself and wouldn't let me access my camera or my headset. So today I'm shouting into my phone. I hope that works for everybody. Please ask any questions you have about CX and UX, about doing work, about teams, about boot camps and learning UX. I'm open to all of these things. Really, it's Office Hours. Ask me anything. You are allowed to ask me anything. Let me see if I'm getting any anonymous questions today. No, I don't see any anonymous questions. So just a little programming note, I do these office hours every Tuesday. I've been trying some different times because I'm trying to capture what time zone people are in, but it's hard because I've got lots of followers around the world. I've got a lot of followers in India. I've got followers across Europe, many in South Africa, a few in Israel. And lots of North America and Central America. And it's really hard to find the time zone that works for everybody, as you can imagine. So I'm doing my best to try to accommodate everybody and be available to you. You can always send me a question ahead of time, knowing that I will answer it in Tuesday office hours. Then you can look for this archive. These are always archived on YouTube. You can just go to our YouTube channel, search YouTube for Delta CX. Please subscribe. And you will see podcasts, and you will also see live office hours. Larry says, what is your go-to good design example lately, and what makes it a good example? Oh, Larry, are there any good designs out there? That's so hard. I had a good customer experience lately. That was really a shocker. Good designs. Considering I installed antivirus today and it blocked my camera and speakers without telling me how or why or how to undo it, not that. Good design. I don't know. I don't have a lot of good ones. And when people ask me that, I am stumped. Larry, what's yours? I don't really know. Maybe I'm very critical. Maybe I'm just a old jaded UXer at heart, but I know whenever I see something, I see ways I think it could be better. I used to joke that made me undateable, but luckily I found someone who loves me for that and can do the same thing. So that worked out. Hey, everybody, OkCupid can work. Well, Larry says ProFlowers, but he's got a horse in the race because he made it as great as it is. So he's right. ProFlowers is a good example of a good everything because of what Larry brought to that project. I think one thing that I like, it's not perfect UX. There's never perfect. One thing that I like a lot and use a lot is a company called Tractive. They don't pay me to say this, and hold on, I've got a box on my desk because I just got another one. Let's talk about Tractive. This is Tractive. And as you can see from the box in the picture, if you are looking at my video, Tractive is a GPS tracker for pets. Yeah, Larry says when I tell people if they've been to a bad site, I had nothing to do with it. Larry, when I tell people if they've been to a bad site, that was a company that refused to hire me. Let's see, we've got a couple of comments over in LinkedIn, and then I'll get back to Tractive. Neon says, I like tooadvanced.com. I hope it's not porn. I'm going to open it up. If you send me porn, I am so blocking you. It's not coming up yet. I don't like how long it's taking. I'm closing the window. So Too Advanced, don't know. Neon says, I did a master's in internet business from a school in Spain that helps retool students mid-career. I feel like the subject matter was really brief, so I got your book so I can build my confidence. Well, that's great. Keep me posted on reading the book. My book's kind of strategic. It's not as tactical, but let's just say I hope to come out with a more tactical book this year with a very special co-author. Let's talk about pet tracking. So as some of you know, I live out in the countryside, and I have 5 dogs, and they are all related to each other, and they have their own Instagram. I will write down their Instagram handle if you would like to follow my dogs on Instagram, because it's in Italian. It's a little bit hard to spell. Let me write this down. Yes, I post in English. Let's see if I can spell today. Okay, here we go. This is my dog Instagram. For anybody who wants to follow my dogs on Instagram, Canetti Perfetti, which is Italian for perfect puppies. So I live in the countryside in Italy, and I've got 5 dogs who are related to each other, so you can get to know them on there. They are Olivia, Romeo, Pizzolo, Teseo, and Diana. They all have Italian names. Olivia, for whatever reason, because they have very different personalities, demands complete freedom. We keep them all in a large outdoor pen, and I mean large, like room to run, because I'm on about an acre of land. Olivia taught herself to climb fences, and she was like, F all y'all, I'm getting out of here. We also know Olivia likes to escape and has many friends because at some point she had a litter of 7 puppies with many different dads. And Pizzolo, Teseo, and Diana are from that litter. We gave the other 4 away. So Olivia demands total freedom. What do you do with a dog that wants freedom in the countryside? You put a GPS tracker on them so that you can be aware of where they are and when they're coming and going and things like that. So Tractive's UX is imperfect, but it does get better. That's one thing I like, is that when I get new app updates and stuff like that, it does get better. It allows me to see where she is at any time. It's very cute because it lets me put a picture of her. So the little map icon, like the teardrop map icon of where she is a picture of her. And what else can I tell you? It also does virtual fences. So I kind of drew a box around our property, and it sends phone notifications to us when she leaves our property, and she's got friends all over. Yes, she's now fixed, no more puppies, but she goes and sees her friends, and she goes to where the cows are. It's really funny. She's very social. So Olivia likes to go all over the place. She has friends, and we can track her and hope that everything's okay. There's been a couple of times where her collar has come off in the midst of running through bushes and brambles, and my boyfriend has gone out there, climbed over the fence into the neighbor's land, and tracked the collar and came back with it, which is awesome. He's my hero. But if you take a look at their app or their website, I like a lot of what Tractive is doing, and it makes sense for who the target user is. Like, oh my God, my dog is lost. Where are they? Show me where they are right now. They've got history. So at the end of the day, I can click the history button and it shows me everywhere Olivia has been today, even with a heat map of where she hung out the most. So it's got the virtual fences, it's got the heat map, it's got the history. We put a tracker, we have a second one. We actually have three, but we have two that are active. We put the second one on Diana. Diana is our smallest and smartest, and she loves to escape. And we put one on her, and we were trying to figure out how she was getting out of the yard. And long story short, we did. You can follow that on Instagram. But I would have to say there's a lot I like about Tractive, and I think they keep genuinely making it better. And I'll give you one example. When I wrote my book, I talked about Tractive, and I talked about how when I had emailed them and said, the way that you attach the thing to the collar is really bad design. The first day Olivia wore it, it fell off. It's lost. I'm out $50. This sucks. And they wrote back and basically said to me like, well, Olivia is just an abnormally active dog. And I was like, no, that's not how this works. If you're supposed to be tracking a lost pet, you can't have something that easily falls off their collar. And I wrote in my book about how you can't treat something as an edge case, especially if you have to really take your target user and customer into mind. And it's funny because when you go to their site now they have a sample video of a woman using Tractive, and she goes to like a park or a wooded area with her dog, and she throws a ball and she takes a dog off the leash and she lets the dog run. And the dog's not lost. The dog's doing his or her own thing. And then she tracks the dog and finds the dog, and everybody's had a great day at the park. So I think they realized this was not just for, oh my God, my dog is lost. It's also for, I have an active outdoorsy dog and I want to know where they are because they don't stay in my yard. So Tractive doesn't pay me to say that. I just happen to be happy with them. And I just bought their new version, which is what that little box is from. And so we're trying it out. And the new way that you attach to the collar works much better, but I still added Velcro. Larry says, what are some common mistakes you see with different groups of UXers? Junior, self-taught, poser, wannabe, mid-level, and senior. Oh my God, Larry, how much time do we have? I normally only do these for an hour. I talk a lot on LinkedIn now, if you're following me, about some of the key mistakes I see juniors making. Now, unlike what someone accused me of today, I do not say that to shame them. I don't want to shame anybody. Juniors making mistakes are really an opportunity for learning, but many of them don't know they're making mistakes because they were taught badly by these trade schools. In some cases, they were lied to, or they're trying to do self-study and they just didn't understand something correctly. Like, for example, I had someone say to me, oh, a design sprint is when you design things for 2 weeks and it's a sprint because you're trying to go fast. And I was like, well, that sounds almost right, but technically a design sprint is a formalized thing that doesn't mean that. So that's just a mistake of somebody who thought what something was. So I'm probably on LinkedIn almost nonstop talking about mistakes juniors make. There's so many. What are mistakes that higher level people, well, poser and wannabe, man, I'll get a stress headache thinking about those people. I have definitely worked with some imposters. My favorite imposter story, and I won't name names, but I'm so tempted, was there was this guy who I worked with at one of my jobs, and the boss had hired him out of desperation. And then the boss would come to me all the time and be like, oh my God, how do I get rid of this guy? I'm like, dude, I told you. And then I ran into the guy again a couple of years later at an event where I was speaking, and he was going to be speaking also. And I'll just make up a name for him. We'll say he's Jim Jones, but he's not Jim Jones. And he comes out to do his talk, and he introduces himself, and he goes, "Hi, I'm Jim Jones, and I'm a UX." And I remember being like, "You're not. Like, you're not a UX, and in my opinion, you're not a UX anything other than imposter." Mistakes imposters make. I would say the number one mistake imposters, two mistakes. What that guy used to do at work the most was he would always call team meetings to try to group design his projects. And when I see somebody who can't do design work themselves, I'm very suspicious that either they're very low confidence, where we need to help them and nurture them, or they're an imposter and they know they're bad at this and they're just trying to get everybody to do their work. So we have to try to figure out which one it is. The other thing I've seen imposters do is if they are managers or leaders in some way, they typically hire bad workers. Because you hire me under an imposter, I'm the whistleblower. So nobody wants me in those cases. And normally when I get hired and the imposter comes in later, they are working as hard as they can to get rid of me because they know that I'll probably expose them. So very often imposters bring in poor quality workers, especially people who are order takers and natural follower personalities, so that they won't challenge the imposter. What mistakes do I see mid-level and senior people making? Um, Not as many. I've seen a lot of very talented mid-level people who were pretty grateful for where they were. You know, they knew they weren't junior anymore. They've been doing it 2 or 3 years now. They're getting the hang of it. They're more self-sufficient on projects. But what I saw from a lot of mid-levels, and certainly from juniors, but what I saw from some mid-levels was they still didn't seem totally sure when to pick their battles and how to pick their battles. So I saw some mid-level people give up too easy on something they should have fought for. And I saw some mid-levels fight a bit aggressively for something that really could have been compromised on. That's a bit of a soft skill that I think people learn over time. If you can learn from some good people who have a good balance with respect to that, we do need to pick battles and we do need to fight battles, but we have to be more careful about which ones we pick, where there can be compromises and things like that. This is Office Hours Ask Me Anything. LinkedIn got quiet. There's 17 of you. If you have questions, please ask them. I'm also taking questions. I always take questions from YouTube as well. That's been very active today. So I'm answering some of the questions showing up there, but please ask. And also for those of you joining late, my new antivirus blocked my computer's camera and headset. So I am talking to you on my phone. Really good news in the phone world for me personally. Just before the new year, we got LTE where I live out in the country, which is freaking amazing. So I've got awesome bandwidth now, at least awesome compared to what I had before. And we're the first people in our tiny village to sign up for fiber to the house. The speed is not monster, but it should be more reliable than what we had before, which was DSL. So I'm really moving up. Larry says the term empathy is used in UX differently. Some use the literal definition to feel the same as the user. I use it to mean to understand the problem from the user's perspective. Your take on it. Larry, you're hitting like every topic I've written articles about and done podcasts on. We just did a podcast with Dr. Seth Finkel, who also appeared in my book. About empathy. That podcast ran a little over an hour. It went long, but Seth and I hit a lot of points about empathy. And I just released an article today on Medium, which I didn't share onto LinkedIn yet. But if you go to Medium and subscribe to the Delta CX publication, you will get notified when I post cool things. And today, my new article on Medium is called Your Empathy is a Lie, or When Empathy is a Lie, or something like that. So what do I think about empathy? At this point, I think empathy is an overused buzzword that is starting to lose its meaning. Empathy should be important, and empathy should be something that UX practitioners have, but I find that the definition of it is changing. People are changing it to mean more perspective taking, and then they're changing it to mean perspective taking even if you made up the perspective of the other person. So evidently you have empathy if you totally made up something about someone else, totally imagined their life, reality, situation, views, perceptions. If you totally made that up with no good information, but you're thinking about it, that's empathy. So I think right now, empathy, the definitions of empathy are unfortunately a giant pile of bullshit. Neon, I know. Jim Jones is the guy who killed everybody in the cult. I know. This guy is definitely no cult leader. He was just weird. He's the guy I saw on LinkedIn. He doesn't even like use his last name. Like, is he trying to not be found? Neon says, over in LinkedIn, I have a question. What would you say is your weakness, area of opportunity that you wish you had more talent in? Oh, that's an easy one, Neon. I am a shitty artist. I am absolutely terrible at visual design. I have found that I'm a good art director in that I have ideas. I have a good eye for reviewing things. But if you ask me to like come up with a fresh design, that's how you get like shit like the thing behind me and stuff like this. You know, my design skills, I really just say are mediocre. There are definitely people worse than I am. There are endless people way better than I am. You can pretty much tell when I design something because it's really quite plain and not terribly artistic. I normally love that about myself. I don't mind that I'm not an artist. I don't mind that I'm not a great visual designer. And yeah, give me a design system and I can push around pre-existing components and everyone's happy. Um, but due to the swell in all of the jobs that expect someone who does UX to also do visual design, I've missed out on a zillion billion jobs by not being able to show a visual design portfolio. Now, that hasn't affected me enough for me to say, I better go learn to be better at art or visual design. I have never pursued studying it because it just doesn't call to me. So it's something I'm bad at that I wish I were better at because it would have opened up more job doors, but I don't wish I were better at it enough to have done anything about it. I haven't read a book. I haven't taken a course. I haven't taken a Udemy course. I haven't taken an art class. I don't own a paintbrush. I do own a variety of Sharpies. I'm very proud of them. You know, gotta sign books with something. But I am function over form by far. I mean, have y'all ever noticed what I'm wearing? Have y'all ever noticed my attention to my appearance? Do you guys know that I'm wearing military boots and camel pants? I am just not artistic, and I'm okay with that. I am a musician, so I like to say that all of my art talent ended up in music. And I'm okay with that. I have a degree in music. I think I'm a great musician. I think I have a lot of talent. For some reason, I'm kind of poopy at art, but I love art directing, and I love uh, teaching artists about accessibility and color blindness and other stuff that they somehow magically don't know. Larry says, you look marvelous. Larry, I'm old enough to remember what you're doing, both the Saturday Night Live version from the 80s and the Lorenzo Lamas before that. Larry says, how do you address the suggestion that developers can design the UX good enough? Yeah, you know, you hear that a lot from Safe Agile, you hear that from scrum.org, and I think the problem there is that many developers and developer methodologies take the perspective that, you know, if we can just get this done and get it released, we'll learn from sending it live to the public if it was any good or not. And then if it's not good, we'll just fix it later. But nobody is calculating the risk of that, and nobody is calculating the actual cost of that. If anybody calculated the cost of fixing it later and stopping your engineering team from working on new work so that they can work on old work that was broken or effed up or bad UX, I think nobody is calculating these costs closely enough. Nobody is calculating when we lose customers because of either developer created bad UX or business analyst created bad UX, or business analyst over prescribing requirements. Product managers over prescribing stuff, as I had with Macy's. So how do I address that? The way that I decided to address it was I wrote an entire book on that and I tour the world. It's called DevOps ICU, as in your developer operations are in the intensive care unit, but I changed the name. It was confusing people. They thought it was a talk about DevOps, which it's not. So I now call it Dev and UX, as in developers and UX. Same content, same logo, new name, same book, short book. I think it's like 120 pages. It's a short read. Not like Delta CX, which is a freaking giant book that I have to try to pick up here. Help. So I wrote a book about it, and I tour the world speaking at conferences. I apply to Agile conferences, Lean conferences, Agile Lean conferences, developer conferences, tech agnostic tech conferences, Windows developer conferences, front-end dev conferences, and I talk to them. And basically my talk is, what is UX? Why can't anybody do it? Why is it done by specialists? Why does it seem to take us so darn long? How can it be lean and agile, at least from my definition of lean, not the lean UX definition of lean? Lean UX book is garbage. And how can we all collaborate better? And the angle that I take is working with UX more closely is going to save engineering time, money, and sanity. And here's how. And I find that really appeals to engineers when I say, you know what, working with me is going to save you time, money, and sanity because you're going to get to more story points more efficiently and estimate your time better when you're getting good stuff from me. So that's the short version of that. This is Office Hours Ask Me Anything. Let's take a look at what else is going on in LinkedIn. Jay Martin says, do you think Sketch released multiple versions for this very reason? Jay Martin, I don't know what this very reason is. We're asynchronous. So I don't know what you're talking about. Sketch released multiple versions for what reason? I don't know. Tell me. Type more long questions, people. If I were to go back to Neon's question and ask, and that's Neon, I'm so sorry if I'm saying your name badly. Is there something about myself that is a weakness that I've worked on changing? I would say I'm always trying to learn more and better ways. This year I hope to learn more about observational research from Larry Marine. There's always something I'm trying to learn more and be better at. But of course, you have to be open to feedback, and you have to be open to what's sometimes the harsh reality of someone who is an expert saying, you are not great at this. But that's okay. You know, I failed at things in the past, and that was tough at the time. But then I realized later it was a blessing in disguise. Hey, Udit says, is there any YouTube music channel of yours? Udit, great question. I am going to do a vocal demo this year, but every time I go to do it, I've been speaking so much and recording so many videos and doing these live streams that my singing voice doesn't sound very good. So I'm trying to find the balance between recording all the things that I want to get out to you guys, and of course, eventually the audiobook, and having a voice that can actually sing what I'm planning to sing. So I have one karaoke track that you can find online. It's a little bit silly. I'm laughing during it, but you can find it. I will have to give you a link to it. I'll send you a private message. Nobody should have to suffer through this other than you. I'll send you a private message with a link to my karaoke song. Jay Martin is back. And Jay Martin says, do you think Sketch released 62 versions for this very reason of getting users to test out the app and report back so the developer could fix it? Ooh, great hypothesis. You know, I don't use Sketch, so I don't follow what Sketch is doing. And if they were making everybody guinea pigs with a lot of releases, that's very possible. I am gratefully and happily on Windows. So whatever is happening on non-Windows, I usually don't know. Did Sketch release a zillion versions to make people be guinea pigs? That's possible. We would have to learn more about Sketch's UX team, whether or not they're empowered. A lot of times when companies believe in MVPs, they believe that they have to release something live to know if it's good or not, and they don't believe that it can be tested in UX. Sketch might also believe that their software is so complex, you know, how would we test it without releasing it? Well, duh, you know, if you can't use an actual prototype of Sketch, which would be funny, like, oh, shouldn't we all be using Axure? If you can't make an Axure prototype of Sketch, and of course you have to make real developer builds of it, but you can still have UX people testing with those. So yeah, I don't know why they did that. Neon, update to advanced is dead. It was back when Adobe Flash was big. Now it's dead. CSS killed it. Okay, well, then we'll never know. So evidently his favorite site is dead and he didn't know. So any other questions? I've been going for quite a while today. I hope this hasn't been too boring. I try not to go over an hour because then people won't watch it back later. So maybe we'll wrap up for today, but remember I do this every Tuesday at varying times. Also, remember portfolio reviews available for next week. You get your first one free. If you've already had one from me and you want another, please do pay for my time. What else? DeltaCX.com has lots of good stuff like the book and other things. Hold on, we've got something coming in. Neon says, I bet your musical mind is what allows you to have so many items in your brain at the same time. The CEO of Too Advanced was a DJ, something about the power of music and web. Direct correlation in my non-scientific experience. Yeah, they do say that music and math are very close, and I was a math science kid growing up, math, science, music. Don't forget, improv comedy is coming up. I think February 12th. Improv comedy is where you are all invited to a live stream like this and we improvise something just to be silly. Last time we did an empathy map, and this time we will be doing a lean UX canvas. So join that. Let's see, deltacx.com, lots of good stuff there that you can learn about in my world. Let's see, I'm going through all the signs that I printed up and seeing which ones are relevant today. Yeah, here's another one. In the future, if you want to ask questions anonymously, because sometimes I do read out names, this is a way to ask the question anonymously, especially if you want to talk about troubles at your own job or in your own world or life. And that way, that question will come to me totally anonymously. I won't know who you are. And if you don't tell me who you are in the question, I won't say it out loud. And I'm not ready for this sign yet. So yeah, those are my signs, because I don't have a system that lets me put words up on the screen. So no more questions in YouTube. Looks like no more questions here in LinkedIn. Thank you guys for a very active and successful office hours. You guys had great questions. It was a lot of fun. I will end this stream and I will archive it on YouTube. If you go to the YouTube channel for Delta CX, you can find these and other live streamed adventures in the archive, including all the podcasts and our last improv comedy if you want to laugh. And the improv comedy is totally anonymous. I never have any idea who's doing what. Next time, I think we're going to be in Mural, and Mural is totally anonymous. So you can do totally anonymous that. I think we're going to do one in Google Docs, and that one might not be anonymous, but the Mural stuff, you don't need a Mural account and it is anonymous. Maybe I could just do all the stuff in Mural so it's anonymous. We'll figure it out. I don't want you guys to feel like we all know who you are. So I'm going to wrap this up and work on troubleshooting my camera and stuff because this wasn't cool. I prefer being in front of my camera. I even tried going into my home recording studio and it wasn't picking up the camera or the sound in there either. So this is just something my new antivirus was just blocking. So got to fix that. Thanks to everybody for a great office hours. Have a super day, and I will catch you Thursday at 6 p.m. Italy time, noon Eastern in America, for our scheduled podcast live with Lee Andres, who's going to be talking about UX storytelling, especially in your portfolio. And let me look for the end stream button and catch you guys very soon.